People always say, marriage is teamwork. But nobody tells you what happens when you're the only one playing on the team. I was married for 4 years, and for almost all of that time, there were 3 of us. Me, my husband, and the woman he kept insisting was nothing. Before we go on, I would like to kindly ask that you please subscribe to the channel, like the video and leave a comment. It would mean so much to me. Now let me tell you how I became a stranger in my own marriage. My name is Zainab. Growing up, people always described me the same way. Quiet, gentle, well-trained. My aunties used to say, "This one will make a very good wife. She doesn't talk too much." And they meant it as a compliment. I learned early that being easy was safer than being honest. If someone cheated me in the market, I'd laugh it off. If a teacher misunderstood me, I'd accept the punishment. If someone crossed my boundaries, I convinced myself it wasn't that deep. I didn't know then that every time you swallow yourself, something inside you slowly disappears. When I met Ibrahim, my mother said I was blessed. He had a good job. He spoke confidently. People respected him. And most importantly, he chose me. At least, that's what I thought. There was another woman in his life from the beginning. Her name was Saad. "She's like my sister," Ibrahim told me the first time I asked. I remember nodding, smiling, pretending my chest didn't feel tight. I didn't want to look insecure. Saad was bold, sharp-tongued, always laughing. The type of woman that filled a room before she even spoke. She and Ibrahim had history. Same campus, same struggles, same memories. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. Stories that always started with, "Remember when we..." At first, I told myself I was lucky. At least my husband doesn't hide his friends, I thought. But slowly, things started to feel off. If Ibrahim was stressed, he called Saad. If something exciting happened, she heard first. If we argued, he vented to her. I was his wife, but she was his emotional home. Sometimes, she'd come over unannounced. She wouldn't even greet me properly. She'd walk straight into the living room and flop beside Ibrahim, legs crossed, phone in hand. "Guy, you won't believe what happened today," she'd say. And I'd sit there, smiling, nodding, fading into the furniture. One evening, I cooked for hours. Ibrahim took one bite and said, "It's okay." Saad tasted it and laughed. "You didn't put enough pepper. Ibrahim likes it hot." He laughed too. I didn't. I told myself not to overthink. You're married. You're the wife. That title should have meant something. But titles mean nothing when actions tell another story. Valentine's Day came. Ibrahim said he wasn't into commercial love. He bought me a pair of slippers and said practicality mattered more than romance. That same night, Saad posted flowers, chocolates, and a caption. "To the person who knows me best, red heart." Ibrahim liked the post. I said nothing. I became very good at silence. So good that even when my heart was screaming, my mouth stayed shut. People around us noticed, though. At family gatherings, Saad sat beside Ibrahim. At parties, she held his arm. People joked. Are you sure this is not the real wife?" They laughed. I laughed too. Because crying would have raised questions. The day of our traditional anniversary, something happened that changed everything. But before that day came, something else happened first. Something I didn't see coming. Something that would make all my silence collapse at once. The thing that happened before our anniversary was small. So small that, if I had been louder, stronger, or braver, I might have stopped everything right there. But I wasn't. I was still Zainab. One afternoon, I came home earlier than usual. Ibrahim was in the bedroom, on a video call. He didn't hear me come in. I stood by the door, keys still in my hand, when I heard Soda's voice coming from the phone. "You miss me," she said, laughing. Ibrahim sighed, not the tired sigh he gave me, but a soft one. "You know I do." My chest went cold. I didn't walk in. I didn't interrupt. I stepped back quietly, like someone trespassing in her own house. When he came out later, I was in the kitchen. He kissed my forehead and asked what I was cooking. I said, rice. He said, nice. And that was the end of it. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying the tone of his voice. The ease. The familiarity. It sounded like home. And I realized something that scared me more than jealousy. If I disappeared, his life wouldn't fall apart. Our anniversary came 3 days later. Ibrahim didn't mention it in the morning. I didn't remind him. I decided I would do something different. I would make the day matter, even if I had to do it alone. I cleaned the house until my hands hurt. I cooked his favorite meals. Not mine, his. I dressed up, even though nobody was coming. I lit candles. I waited. He came in late. Not extremely late. Late enough. And of course, he wasn't alone. Saad walked in behind him, removing her shoes like she lived there. Ah, Zainab, she said. You're home early. Ibrahim frowned at the candles. What's all this? I swallowed. It's our anniversary. He blinked. Oh. Just, oh. Saad laughed lightly. Ah, you're so sentimental. Ibrahim scratched his head. Well, since we're already here, let's just eat. Just like that. Dinner felt unreal. They talked about work. They laughed about old stories. Saad leaned across the table, touching Ibrahim's arm when she spoke. I stared at my plate. At some point, Saad said, if I was married to you, I'd never let you go hungry like this. Ibrahim laughed. I looked up. Something inside me snapped, not loudly, just enough. Please, I said quietly, can we just have tonight to ourselves? Silence. Then Ibrahim sighed. Zainab, don't start. Start what? Asking to be seen? Saad stood up. I'll wait outside, she said. You two should talk. But she smiled as she said it. Like she already knew how the conversation would go.
Ibrahim turned to me, irritated. Why do you always do this? I stared at him. I'm your wife. And you're acting insecure, he snapped. That was the first time he raised his voice at me. I felt myself shrink automatically. I'm tired, he continued. Saad understands me. She doesn't stress me. There it was. Out loud. Unfiltered. He left that night. With her. Not permanently, he said. Just to clear his head. I didn't cry immediately. I cleaned up the candles. Packed away the food. Sat on the bed. And then my body gave up. I fainted the next morning. That's how I found out I was pregnant. When the doctor told me, I laughed. Not because I was happy. Because the timing felt cruel. Like life was mocking me. I called Ibrahim. No answer. Again. Again. Messages delivered. Read. Ignored. I didn't know he had blocked me later that night. I didn't know Saad had suggested it. I didn't know they were together somewhere far away, laughing, drinking, pretending responsibility didn't exist. By the third day, I was frantic. I called his friends, his family. Nobody knew where he was. Or maybe they did, and just didn't want to say. That's when I called Saad. She answered calmly, like she had been waiting. I need to talk to him, I said. Please. She paused, then said, come to the reserve tomorrow evening. He'll be there. Something about her voice felt wrong. But I was desperate, so I agreed. I arrived just before sunset. The place was quiet. Too quiet. Saad was already there. No Ibrahim. You lied, I said. She shrugged. I needed you to hear something without him interrupting. That's when she said it. Everything. How he loved her first. How I was chosen because I was easy. How silence made me convenient. I told her she was bitter. She told me I was blind. Voices rose. Words became ugly. I don't remember pushing. I remember losing balance. I remember water. Cold. Heavy. Unforgiving. When I woke up, the doctor wouldn't meet my eyes. That's how I knew. I lost the baby. Ibrahim came later. He cried. I didn't. I felt emptied out. Like grief had already taken everything it could. I didn't know, he kept saying. I nodded. Then I said it. I'm done. He thought it was anger. It wasn't. It was clarity. They say clarity is peaceful. That's a lie. Clarity is loud. It shakes things loose. It leaves wreckage. After I told Ibrahim I was done, he laughed at first. Not because it was funny. Because he didn't believe me. You're emotional, he said. You've been through a shock. I stared at him from the hospital bed and realized something simple and devastating. He had never taken me seriously. Not once. When I was discharged, I didn't go home. I checked into a small hotel near the hospital. I turned off my phone. For the first time since I got married, nobody could reach me. And in that silence, I finally heard myself. I grieve badly. Not loudly. Quiet grief. The kind that sits in your chest and refuses to move. I grieve the baby. I grieve the woman I had been, the one who believed endurance was love. I grieve the marriage I had been performing in, not living. Ibrahim came to the hotel twice. The first time, I didn't open the door. The second time, I did. He looked tired. Lost. Human. Finally. I cut her off, he said quickly. I blocked her everywhere. I swear. I nodded. That's good. He looked relieved, until he realized my tone hadn't changed. I'll do therapy, he continued. I'll change. I'll prove it. I looked at him for a long time. Then I said, you don't need to change anymore. I've already changed. That's when fear entered his eyes. Because for the first time, he understood this wasn't a fight. It was an ending. The divorce process wasn't dramatic, just exhausting. He delayed, asked for time, tried guilt, tried nostalgia, tried reminding me of how quiet and understanding I used to be. That version of me was gone. When the papers were finalized, I felt nothing. No joy. No triumph. Just space. Telling my mother was harder. She cried. She blamed me. She blamed society. She blamed patience for finishing. Then I told her everything. Not politely. Not carefully. Everything. By the end, she didn't speak. She just held my hand. And for the first time in my life, she said something unexpected. I taught you wrong. Life didn't magically improve after that. I didn't glow overnight. I didn't become fearless. I just became honest. At work, when people dumped things on me, I said no. When someone interrupted me, I finished my sentence. When something hurt, I named it. People didn't like it. Some did. I didn't care. As for Ibrahim, reality arrived slowly, quietly, without mercy. Saad didn't disappear immediately. She called him, messaged him, showed up. He ignored her. Not out of loyalty to me, too late for that. Out of shame. One day, she showed up at the house. He told her to leave. She laughed. Said, you'll come back. He didn't. Months later, he heard she'd moved on. Found someone else. Posted pictures. Laughed loudly again. That was when it hit him. He had lost everything for nothing. Years passed. I rebuilt myself carefully. Piece by piece. I joined a support group. Then helped run one. Then helped start one. Women who had lost pregnancies. Women who had lost themselves. Women who had been quiet for too long. One evening, at an event, I saw Ibrahim. Across the room. He looked older. Smaller. He smiled when he saw me. I didn't smile back. Not because I was angry. Because I felt nothing. I walked past him, and that was the loudest thing I'd ever done. If you've watched this far, I want you to hear this clearly. Silence is not virtue. Endurance is not love. And being chosen last is not being chosen. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, share it. And tell me in the comments, what part stayed with you the most? I'll see you in the next one.